Right. I am in Scotland.
Okay, it's going to need a little more setup than that. This right here is me as of about a year ago, having not long crossed the border into Scotland, where I had endeavoured to do some camping and see some castles. Here is my itinerary as I had planned it, and here is how the whole trip actually turned out. Nevertheless, there will be camping, there will be castles, there will be emotions and other emotions. There will also be eczema around my eyes because it would take me a few months to realise that some cream would just get rid of it. Speaking of skin issues around the eye, the rubber around my driver's side headlight is loose. It'll make a few appearances. Anyway, where was I? Ah, yes, Scotland.
Specifically, I believe I'm in
Newcastleton. Yes, that's right. A quaint little village just beyond the border. My journey there from Essex was split over 2 days with a stop in Newark-on-Trent. About 350 miles in total. I can't say I was looking forward to it. I've never been especially fond of driving. But then I am from the southeast, where the roads seem ever congested, lined by regiments of new houses no one can afford, and salons for everything but the soul.
Are you telling me we just fucking sat in that shit and have exited it just to rejoin it? How much fucking time is that saving? Look, you cunt.
There is no joy in driving such streets, in passing the clutter of cement and millions of people lost in its cracks. The illusion of motion, coupled with a playlist or two, can separate one from it all for a time, but eventually you get out of the car, look back and realize you've gone nowhere. Like everyone else, you've been dead all along.
Fucking go! Yes! Fucking power!
The roads got quite nice further north. As I left the gravitational influence of London, its grey accretion disk and ring road event horizon, the surrounding land became less obfuscated by the billboard blindfolds of modernity, putting mountains upon the windows of my Toyota and open fields in the reflections of its metal. That is until a wee spell of rain got in the way of those views.
The scenery around here is nice. Shame I can't fucking see!
Though I am generally rather partial to a bit of rain, my car, being rear-engined, rear-wheel drive and low enough to get facialed by the tyre spray of every adjacent vehicle, isn't. But the wetness was soon relegated to the mirrors, and the roads became, altogether, more pleasant and, thereafter, winding and narrow in a fashion unremarkable for country lanes in the UK, though these ones, at least, held a little secret.
Ah, I didn't expect to find the Welcome to Scotland sign here, but that'll do, slightly understated. Oh, what gear do I need?
As I ventured further beyond the border, the roads got narrower still, to the point that I began to convince myself that they must not be bidirectional, and that I was almost certainly driving the wrong way down a one-way street. Some portions had marked passing places, where a driver could pull into a little nook and allow oncoming vehicles to get through, which was handy, essentially just a formalised approach to what all nice drivers do anyway. Speaking of, there's one now, little thank you wave and everything. The roads continued in their narrow way, and I was finally met with the object of my destination. I pulled in, pulled up, and turned on the selfie camera. This would be the first stop of my 9-day trip. Newcastleton,
which is famous for having a castle, specifically Hermitage Castle, which, as of this recording, is closed, which, you know, is fair enough. Castles are famous for being closed. I knew it was closed before getting here. I came here all the same, though, just on the off chance that I might be able to get in. I'm going to go have a look around. I was waiting for... There was a woman who was pulled up here as well. There's like a little parking bit. And she clearly wasn't aware that the castle was closed and walked up to the gate and was quite disappointed. She's now gone somewhere. So yeah, I'm going to go have a look. Back in a second.
10 minutes later.
Okay, so update. I went to the gate. The gate is very clearly locked. The river, which I knew existed, I had looked at on Google Earth, is more substantial and more visceral than I had anticipated, so I won't be getting in that way. The woman has just gone, though, and this is the interesting part. I thought that she seemed visibly disgruntled at the fact that she couldn't get into the castle, and then she just sat there for ages. And she's finally just gone because I assume her son or someone else returned from the castle. I guess he jumped the gate. That or he just like apparated in like a fucking wizard, which, you know, suggests he was at the castle and suggests to me that it's feasible to go there. There's no one around. There's not going to be fucking anyone around anyway. If they've not got the money to have it open, they're not going to have the money to staff it. Okay. I don't encourage what I'm about to do, but I am going to do it, and that is to have a piss by the side of the road. I do encourage people to jump fences into private property, that's absolutely fine.
I'm going to narrate over this footage because not only did past me elect to point the camera at his face rather than the castle, he was also chatting a load of rubbish. Basically, I got in just fine and there was no one there to stop me, so lovely. I then set about taking some pictures. There are signs that the castle once had a series of gable-style roofs. It's little surprise that in the 8 centuries since its initial construction, these roofs have fallen through. Though I think it looks better without them, to be honest. It gives it an odd cubic silhouette. I wanted to get a picture from further away to really show off this shape, but it took more effort than I anticipated.
So this ground looks nice from a distance. Not so nice up close. Oh, there's the castle, by the way.
I've come to realise that I'm really not a very good cameraman.
It's very wet.
Like, what am I doing here?
That's very steep.
Yes. My primary photo-video device for the entire trip was an exceptionally average phone. The pictures then were never going to be great, but I think these came out okay. You can see here that odd shape I mentioned, somewhat eerie, really, like medieval brutalism. They do say the ruin is haunted by Mary, Queen of Scots. I can't say that I noticed her.
Okay, well, I have some pictures, which is what I wanted, so I guess that was a success. I couldn't get as many pictures as I would like, in part just because, you know, I'm on an area I shouldn't be, I shouldn't stay too long. And on a similar note, there is a house that looks directly at the castle. One might reasonably assume they're like the groundskeepers or something. So I'm limited as to where I can go to get pictures that isn't in view of that house. Because in my paranoid head, they just sit in that house all day and they look out the window and they go, oh, look at there, there's another one. Another fucking Englishman. That snuck into the closed castle. Okay, I'm back on a pathway. I'm back in the car. I need to change these shoes because they're not really suitable for driving. I could change my trousers as well, given that they're now incredibly wet, but I don't know, they'll dry, it'll be okay. I was going to hang around here and have something to eat, like get the stove out and whatnot, but the weather's very clearly turning, it's getting a bit late, and oh god, those socks, how's it gotten through to the socks? The weather's turning, it's getting a bit late, and I have no signal, as I've mentioned, I believe.
You haven't.
Or if I haven't, I'm mentioning it now.
Alright.
So I don't really want to stay here too long. So yeah, we're going to figure out what direction Bamborough is in, because that's the next stop. As much as I just said that I am camping around Scotland, the first night is actually going to be spent in my car in Bamborough, because we're going to go see Bamborough Castle. Next, Bamborough, of course, being in England. So yeah, we've dipped into the Highlands for a moment, and now we're heading back out to the kind of Newcastle area.
You definitely just used Highlands wrong.
Or at least we will be, if I can get my bearings, because of course SatNav, although it will track your position without requiring signal or reception, whatever you want to call it, it will not provide you with navigation. Certainly not if you want to try and actually navigate out of an area that doesn't have signal. You can head through one because it will memorise what it needs to know. So yeah, I have a compass. I don't need it because I have a phone as well. But yeah, we're going to figure out what direction to head in, and we're going to read road signs like a fucking old person in the olden days.
Disclaimer, everything I just said about navigation is probably wrong, and I did need a compass.
Right, I have had to actually get my compass because my phone was being quite unhelpful. Broadly speaking, Bamborough is east. So we're going to head, broadly speaking, eastwards along this very thin road, which I've seen other people go up and down in multiple directions, so I assume it's fine for me to, if only because it's generally unoccupied. Yeah, let's move the compass where I can see it. Okay, let's go. We are currently heading east. If we just keep this up for an hour and a half, we'll be in Bamborough. Hopefully I'll get signal before then.
30 seconds later.
And we have signal again, fantastic. I'm going to stop in the middle of the road and just quickly, while we have signal, to Bamborough, UK. Let's go. 50 miles away.
Let's take B6399.
Yeah, let's.
98.
Okay.
This route is 24 minutes faster than A699. A6105.
Okay.
A1.
Thank you. So apparently I'm going to be in Bamborough for about 7:30, which suits me. I wanted to get there for around 8 o'clock-ish. The reason being, I am going to be sleeping in my car in Bamborough, and I'd quite like to find somewhere to park, and given it's a weekend, during the day I suspect I wouldn't have my choice pick of car park spaces. Also, there's just no point in me hanging around in Bamborough too long. I want to be there for tomorrow to see the castle. Oh, Jesus Christ. I do really need a shit, though. Number 2, I think they call it. I think I can hold out for a while, but we'll see.
In retrospect, the drive from Newcastleton likely took me through Northumberland National Park, which would explain why it was so featureless, say for a few bovids.
And there's just some rams ramming. Hello! Were they rams? Were they goats? Is a ram a male goat? I shouldn't admit this on camera.
They were goats, but no, a ram is a male sheep. I saw hints of those too, though, including this little scamp who decided to test my reflexes. Prick. Sometime later, small towns began to pop up. You know the ones, they're all the same. Church, pub, war memorial, petrol station. Everything you need to survive in those quiet regions between the city and the edge of the world. Indeed, soon after, the edge of the world came, or at least the edge of the UK, in the form of Bamborough, my destination, and as a gift upon my arrival was its castle wrapped in fog. While Hermitage was very impressive in its modesty, this would be a much grander display.
So, I'm in a car park. I'm in the main car park in Bamborough. It is a long stay car park, but you're not allowed to sleep or cook, which are two things I was intending to do. So, while I don't think there would be a huge amount of repercussions for doing so, it's also just not a great car park. Like, it's fine, but it's not great for my purposes. It's very open. There's nowhere really I can sequester myself and get some sleep. It does have some toilets though. I mean, they're just portaloos. One would assume they're functional. Why else would they be there? But I might give them a go. So yes, I guess I'm going to attempt to use the lavatory and then attempt to find another car park while it's still light. Yeah, then I guess that'll be it for the evening. We'll hunker down. I'll maybe go to the pub. I can have 1 or 2. can't be drunk in a vehicle, even if you have no intention of driving it.
Specifically your own vehicle.
Because it's hard to prove that you have no intention of driving it, is the issue. Okay, enough of the technicalities of drink driving law. I'm going to go for a shit.
20 minutes later.
So, I didn't go for a shit. The Portaloos didn't appeal to me. I have moved on to another car park. This one doesn't allow overnight stays, so it's not functionally kind of any better than the other one, but it is more discreet. So hopefully, even though I'm surrounded by people at the moment, I can sleep here. I mean, in theory, and this is added motivation for that theory to be borne out in reality, I'll be waking up very early. I intend to wake up in order to film the sunrise over the castle, assuming... Let's have a look, see here. Yeah, I might have to stand in a really awkward place to make that work. I don't know exactly where the sun's going to rise, but it doesn't seem like it's likely to be in an ideal place. So maybe scratch that idea. But I would like to be up to see the sunrise generally. Perhaps film a bit right next to the beach here, so it's a good view for it. I can also probably camp on the beach. Not camp, sorry, cook. I'll probably do that now.
I didn't, which would cost me.
I need these people to move first, though. They're just fucking about. Just constantly fucking about. I should get less annoyed by people. So yeah, update shortly, I guess.
I walked into town, hoping to find a pub where I could get those aforementioned pints and have that aforementioned poo. I did find one, several in fact, but I felt I wasn't appropriately dressed. It was lightly raining. I was wearing my hat, high-collared poncho and boots, all black. I looked a bit sinister, and so, after awkwardly moping about and staring into pub windows like a bad omen, I retired back to my car. The nearby beach at this point matched my own look and temperament, the sand, sea, sky all in shades of black, the waves calm but solemn in their way. I wanted to be there, to fit in.
Right, well, if you can hear me over the sound of the sea, circumstances are such that we are cooking some dinner on the beach. Mainly just because
I decided it would be awkward to sit within the eyeline of a young couple who were also on the beach. They were very near the car park though, so I had to go quite far along the shore, settling at an alcove of overgrowth. In fact, I had to make this journey multiple times to move everything I needed for cooking. The couple watching me traipse back and forth over patches of water and splodgy sand, torch in one hand, bags of God knows what in the other, was probably more awkward than whatever I hoped to avoid by doing so. Maybe it was worth it, though. At least they couldn't see me ruin my evening.
Yeah, should we cook some food? I've not brought a tripod with me, so I don't quite know how I'm going to film this, but we'll try and do it in stages. We have gas. I don't know if you can see that, it's looking a bit psychedelic on the screen, but after quite a fight with a tin opener, I've got some potatoes going. Thus far, if you want to try cooking in the rain, the sand, in the dark, I would recommend not. We'll see how the food tastes at the end. It's just potatoes and sauce, so you know, I can kind of predict it, to be honest.
Somehow I couldn't predict the fact that it would, obviously, taste of sand. Sand and rain, which was pouring much harder by now, perhaps because the wind was cheering it on. Dinner would have to wait. I needed to get back to the car. Another 3 trips to move all my stuff over the increasingly fluid ground, but only after taking that shit I'd needed for the past 4 hours, taking it on the beach. I'm sorry, I dug a hole, it was out of the way, fuck off. I saw that couple again. They'd settled together in their nice camper van with its bed, its food. My car was parked further away. 2 seats, no storage. I did what I could to not coat the poor thing's insides with sand, but it went everywhere. To this day, I have not gotten rid of it all. Sand in the footwell, sand on the seat, sand all over my camping stuff, sand in my phone. How did it get there? Well, remember I didn't bring a tripod?
I've not bought a tripod.
I was having to hold my phone, which I was using as a light. That's why manually opening that food can was particularly difficult.
After quite a fight with a tin opener.
In the process, the phone got a bit intimate with the sandy ground. Did you notice that the last clip there only had single channel audio? Yeah, that's because the microphone was now full of wet sand, and worse than that, so was the charging port. The phone was a necessity. The trip was untenable without it. I thought about just driving back home. Right then, there was enough charge for that. No, I tried harder. My pocket knife couldn't get the sand out. The blade was too big. But I remembered that there was a needle in my first aid kit. Carefully, I extracted as much sand as possible. It wasn't making any difference. Fuck it. There was an unnerving crunch as I jammed the USB lead in. Charging. 36%. Thank fuck. Thank fuck. I wasn't hungry anymore. I let the very potatoes that had gotten me into this mess go cold on the dashboard. There was nothing left to do but sleep. Or at least try to. The mound of stuff on my passenger seat was thrown apart to produce a sleeping bag. Initially, I tried to recline, legs over the handbrake, but that turned out to be as stupid an idea as it sounds, so I just sat there. Good thing too, really. It would be a few days until I noticed my handbrake was actually failing. I could have rolled into the sea if I hadn't been careful. But I didn't. I just sat there fixated on how much I'd cocked things up on my first night. I looked at my phone. It was still charging. No signal though, so I couldn't even watch YouTube to take my mind off things. All I had to listen to was what I'd downloaded. The 1981 BBC radio adaptation of The Lord of the Rings. It's a good production, but not what I needed in that moment. Still, I put it on and told myself I'd feel better in the morning. I'd have some food at last. I'd see the sunrise. I don't know. Sam and Frodo were leaving Hobbiton when I finally began falling asleep, my consciousness lapsing with the waves behind. How nice to have a friend with you on your journey, I thought. Next time on whatever the fuck this is.
Looking back on all our troubles, looking back on all yesterdays. Never thought that we'd be, baby, wondering how we lost our way.